been a lot of rumours and speculation in regards to this Manchester United takeover. There's been links to the UAE mostly, and in general the Middle East. But these stories have just got real. There's confirmation going in that the UAE have spoken to the likes of Eric Cantona, that there is conversations ongoing, and we're going to talk about the latest on that because Ben Jacobs, who I think this summer has proven he's quite a credible journalist, had a few things to say. We're also going to talk about other Manchester United news stories as well. Ugarte could be playing versus Liverpool as Casemiro had an extra rest day after a busy international break. But Bruno also had an extra rest day, and there's no talk about Mainoo playing instead of Bruno, which is interesting. But if you weren't aware, there was a story and rumour going about that Ruben Amorim had a massive go at Ugarte after the Europa League final when he ranted at Garnacho and told him to find a new club. There was a rumour that floated about that Ruben Amorim also screamed at Ugarte, "You're not the same player you were at Sporting." Now, Laurie Whitwell denied that rumour going about and said that he did not say that, apparently, so that rumour was not true. But there's been a lot of speculation that Amorim and Ugarte don't have the best relationship, and I don't think they have a bad relationship. I just think that Ugarte has probably been underwhelming in Amorim's eyes. But we're going to talk about the latest and what is really going on with Amorim and Ugarte. We're going to talk about Mainoo, a bit of a blow for him. But Amorim has called up a lot of youth players into training, and Amorim's having a lot of conversations with Shea, Lacey, with Mbeumo and Ahmad set to go to AFCON. There's a feeling that Shea Lacey's debut could be soon. So we're going to talk about the latest on youth. So hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. We're doing this and takeover update show, but we're going to discuss all the latest Manchester United news into 10 minutes for you guys. So if you are new, just to let you know, every single day on the channel, I do a 10-minute roundup of all the United news. Let's dive into it. Within the UAE, one company in particular is involved in the talks about Manchester United, IHC. They have been part of talks to put together a prospective UAE-based consortium. Look, nothing might happen. Nothing might happen because Qatar put a consortium together and nothing happened, okay? But there is talks with a company in Dubai that are putting a consortium together and have reached out to Manchester United legends. There's something going on. The stories have got real. The takeover stories have got real. This doesn't mean they're going to buy the club. The Glazers might not sell the club. The Glazers want 5 billion plus. But we've discussed many times on the channel, if the Glazers were to sell Manchester United, this is probably the best time for, in February 2027, where they can sell for less than £33 per share. They have to sell for more than £33 or €33 per share right now because of the whole thing with Ratcliffe. They can sell the club, they can force Ratcliffe out, they have to give over a certain amount. If the UAE came to Man United and the Glazers and offered 5+ billion, I think they could sell. But we don't know if they're going to do that. Apparently, things are advanced according to one source. Apparently, things are not advanced according to another source. Who knows? But it's now been confirmed by Ben Jacobs that there is a company involved in talks about Man United. They're putting a consortium together. They're reaching out to club legends. Chris Wheeler said they might make a bid. Turkey says it's advanced, although that's been denied. There is something going on. I mean, Sheikh Yassim had a consortium and he didn't buy the club. Maybe the Glazers are using the UAE for more investment, more minor investment. Maybe they are looking to sell because it's the right time to sell. We don't know. But these stories have just got real. That's what is confirmed. These stories have just got real. It was also said by Ben Jacobs, within the UAE, one company in particular is involved in talks about Manchester United. I mentioned that story, didn't I? Sorry. It was also mentioned by Ben Jacobs that Cantona has held direct talks about becoming an ambassador for Man United with a prospective UAE-based consortium. We obviously know it was reported the other day that the UAE had reached out to United legends about potentially taking over the club, and Cantona is one of the United legends that's been reached out to. So there's genuine interest from the UAE in buying United because they're reaching out to club legends. They're having talks. Will they buy United? Will the Glazers sell? I can't tell you that, but there's some truth in these stories, which is interesting to know. Now let's dive into news on Ugarte. Manuel Ugarte is under consideration for Manchester United recall against Liverpool on Sunday. Casemiro had an extra recovery day, so was not at training on Thursday. Because Casemiro has been on international duty, he's been in Japan and Korea, he's had an extra day off. So Ugarte was at training today, Casemiro wasn't, which means Ugarte may play the Liverpool game because he's in an extra day's training. However, we've been told by Amorim, Ugarte is competing with Casemiro, Mainoo's competing with Bruno. Well, Bruno wasn't at training either. He had an extra rest day. So why aren't we getting told that, Mainoo could get a chance? I mean, it's Bruno. Bruno's undroppable. I get it, but I'm just saying some senior players, including Bruno and Casemiro, given extra time off after internationals. Why is it Ugarte that's only under consideration to start? Why not Mainoo? Mainoo hasn't started a Premier League game this season under Ruben Amorim, and I think that's pretty mad. He had 30 minutes versus Man City. He was our best player. I just think it's mad, the lack of minutes for Mainoo. I'm going to be honest. I get that, okay, he's competing with Bruno. It's difficult, but play Bruno higher up. Put Mainoo in the pivot. We need someone that's good on the ball, and I think Amorim just doesn't know how to use Mainoo. But I also want to continue into what else was said on Ugarte. I'm told that Ruben Amorim really likes Manuel Ugarte and thinks he's exactly the right kind of profile. He just needs a bit extra out of him, according to Ben Jacobs. So Ruben Amorim likes a guy, thinks he's the kind of profile he needs, just needs a bit out of him. I think Ruben Amorim will think that because of what he did at Sporting. He worked in the system, and maybe he needs a bit more on the ball. I mean, off the ball, Ugarte gives you what you want. On the ball, when he gets pressed, that's when he's a liability. Ugarte, when Van Nistelrooy came in, and Amorim's first 2 months was phenomenal for us. I thought Ugarte from October to about January was really good, and then he became a liability. So I think there's a player in Ugarte, and I think he's not playing at his best for United, and I don't think he's been as bad as he's been playing lately. But right now, I'd rather see Mainoo play than Ugarte. Unless you're 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go and you need someone that's just going to win the ball back and put a defensive shift, 100%. I think Ugarte is a better player than he gets credit for. I think Ugarte is a unique player with a unique skill set, and I think there's a lot he can offer to United, and that can be valuable. But I don't think he's better than Mainoo, and I think it's weird how Ugarte is under consideration, but not Mainoo. Do you know what I mean? But Ruben Amorim likes Ugarte, and I think that's Ben Jacobs' way of almost trying to debunk the rumours that came out about potential fallout. Let me know your thoughts down below. Would you start Ugarte versus Liverpool? I'm not against Ugarte starting versus Liverpool because I'm thinking of athleticism and legs. I'm not against Ugarte, but if you're going to drop Casemiro because he's not gone to training on Thursday for Ugarte, then as much as I like Bruno, drop Bruno for Mainoo, play Ugarte and Mainoo. And I'm saying this is Bruno's biggest fan. I think it's a bit of hypocrisy. Now, one thing that's good to see is a lot of youngsters have been drafted into United training. Now, Nathan Salt is a very good journalist when it comes to inside Manchester United, but particularly academy. Him, Stephen Railston, Academy Scoop, and Sully, they get good info on the academy. And he mentioned that Shea, Lacey, Jacob Devaney, Chido Obi, Jim Thwaites, and Jack Fletcher were among them. Now, interestingly, if you watched my video the other day, I spoke about Shea, Lacey, Jim Thwaites, and Jack Fletcher being 3 players, and JJ Gabriel as well, being the players that are really highly rated within Manchester United. Shea Lacey right now I think is the highest rated by Amorim, but Jack Fletcher is also seen as the second closest to breaking through with Shea Lacey. And Jim Thwaites is that bit younger but very highly rated, and JJ Gabriel is that bit younger but very highly rated. Also, all the other players involved will be highly rated. But it's interesting to see more youngsters have been called up. And there is talk of, and rumours that maybe Shea Lacey could get a debut at some point because Ahmad and Boom are going to AFCON. Shea Lacey's going to be drafted in. He's been training with England first team. He's been training with Man United first team. But also this was mentioned by Nathan Salt. Shea Lacey and Ruben Amorim speak with increasing regularity these days. They have plenty of one-on-one conversations around the training ground, and there is said to be eagerness to put Lacey in a position to succeed in the very near future. Now, this is interesting. There's a lot of conversations with Lacey and Amorim. They speak a lot. We know that he's been training with the first team, and we know from reliable outlets that Lacey and Fletcher are seen as the closest or most likely to break into the first team. What we do know is with Mbeumo and Ama going to AFCON, Lacey is in that right 10 role. That's where Lacey's strengths are, and he could get opportunities. The problem we have is if we're in the Europa League and if we're in the Carabao Cup and we had lots of games, I think Lacey would make his debut this season. But because we're not in the Europa League, because we've been knocked out of the Carabao Cup, I think Lacey's debut is either going to come in AFCON or in the FA Cup, depending on who we draw, and also dependent on injuries. Because if Xerxes can barely get minutes, Mainoo is struggling for minutes, I don't see where Lacey's minutes are coming from. But I see Lacey making a debut, and I think if Lacey doesn't make a debut this season, it's because he'll go out on loan. I think Lacey's too good for academy football. I think it's debut or goes out on loan to make his professional debut. Anyway, thank you for watching today's 10-minute roundup. If you did enjoy today's video, feel free to hit that like button. You're welcome to subscribe down below if you're new to keep up to date. Let me know your thoughts down below. Bye.